My name is Bronson, 36 years old, and I built my life around my business instead of children. That Thanksgiving dinner started like any other, with family gathered around a table of abundance. Then my brother-in-law Thomas raised his glass with a smug grin. We voted at the town meeting last week. Since you do not have kids, you will pay more taxes for ours. The table erupted in laughter. I felt my face burn as I reached for my phone. Let me know where you are watching from. And hit that subscribe button as I share how one phone call changed everything for my family this Christmas. I never planned to be the family bachelor. Growing up in a small Massachusetts town, everyone assumed I would follow the traditional path: college, marriage, 2.5 kids, and a house with a white picket fence. But life had different plans for me. After graduating from business school, I launched a digital marketing agency that consumed my 20s. By 30, I had 20 employees and clients across 3 states. Success came with sacrifice, mainly in my personal life. My decision to remain childless was partly circumstantial and partly intentional. I watched my parents struggle financially while raising me and my younger sister Sarah. Dad worked 2 jobs. Mom picked up night shifts, and they still barely made ends meet. Their marriage crumbled under the weight of financial stress when I was 15. That experience shaped my perspective on family planning. I wanted stability before responsibility. Sarah took a different path. She married Thomas Jackson right after college. They had their first child within a year, followed by twins 3 years later. They lived in a house they could barely afford in an upscale neighborhood 30 minutes from our childhood home. Thomas worked as a sales manager at a local furniture store, while Sarah stayed home with the kids. From the outside, they had the perfect family. Behind closed doors, financial strain showed in their arguments, and Thomas's growing resentment toward me. Thomas and I never clicked. From the first family dinner where Sarah introduced him, tension simmered between us. He viewed my business success as a direct challenge to his manhood, especially since I remained single. Comments about my lonely life became his standard greeting at family gatherings. Still working 60-hour weeks, Bronson? When are you going to get a real life? He would ask within minutes of my arrival. Found anyone willing to date a workaholic yet was another favorite. I typically smiled and deflected. Family harmony mattered more than my pride, especially for my mother and Sarah. After Dad left, Mom raised us alone while working full-time as an elementary school teacher. She deserved peaceful holidays. The irony of Thomas's resentment was that I financially supported his family more than he knew. When Sarah called about their furnace breaking during a brutal winter storm, I paid the $4,000 replacement without hesitation. When the twins needed braces, I anonymously covered half the cost through Mom. College savings accounts for all 3 nieces and nephews held funds I contributed quarterly. I never mentioned these contributions because they were done out of love for the kids and Sarah, not for recognition. Our town recently held a special election on education funding. The measure proposed increasing property taxes for all residents, with additional surcharges for properties without dependent children. The logic being that those without children directly benefiting from the school system should contribute more. The measure passed by a slim margin, increasing my property taxes by nearly $3,000 annually, while families like Thomas and Sarah received new tax credits. I did not oppose better school funding. Education transformed my life, giving me opportunities my parents never had. What bothered me was Thomas's attitude about it, like I deserved financial punishment for my life choices. Despite the tension, I maintained regular involvement with my family. Sunday dinners at Mom's house, birthday celebrations for the kids, and holidays were non-negotiable commitments. The children knew Uncle Bronson as the fun relative who took them to baseball games, taught them to fish, and always remembered their favorite books. 7-year-old Emma and the 5-year-old twins Jake and Jason would run to the door when I arrived, fighting over who got the first hug. My apartment downtown stood in contrast to the suburban family homes of my relatives. 3 bedrooms, modern furnishings, and a spectacular view of the river reflected my aesthetic preference for clean lines and functional spaces. Thomas once called it a magazine showroom rather than a home, but to me it was perfect. The 2nd bedroom served as my home office, and the 3rd housed my collection of vintage vinyl records and books. Quiet mornings with coffee on my balcony provided the peace I needed to center myself before chaotic workdays. Friends often asked if I felt lonely or regretful about not having children. The honest answer was no. I enjoyed the freedom to travel spontaneously, work late when projects demanded it, and pursue hobbies without juggling school schedules or childcare. My social circle included other professionals, some with families and some without. We respected each other's life choices without judgment. That acceptance did not extend to family gatherings where subtle comments about my selfish lifestyle surfaced regularly, usually from Thomas, occasionally from extended family members, who viewed traditional family structures as the only valid life path. Their perception of me as someone avoiding responsibility frustrated me, especially considering my business employed local parents with flexible schedules and benefits specifically designed to support families. The week before Thanksgiving, Mom called to confirm dinner plans. Thomas is smoking a turkey this year, she mentioned, excitement in her voice. Sarah's making her sweet potato casserole and I have got pies covered. Can you bring that cranberry salad everyone loved last year? Of course, I promised already, dreading Thomas's inevitable comments, but looking forward to seeing the kids and Mom. Little did I know this particular Thanksgiving would fundamentally alter my relationship with Thomas and test the boundaries of family loyalty in ways none of us anticipated. Thanksgiving morning arrived with the crisp scent of autumn and wood smoke drifting through the neighborhood. I spent the early hours preparing my cranberry salad, folding in toasted pecans and orange zest, the way Mom taught me years ago. By noon, I was driving toward Sarah and Thomas's suburban home, a two-story colonial with shutters needing paint and a yard scattered with colorful plastic toys. Emma spotted me first as I walked up the driveway, carrying the crystal bowl of cranberry salad and a bag of small gifts for the children. "Uncle Bronson," she shouted, running toward me in a frilly dress, her curly hair bouncing with each step. The twins followed, racing to see who could reach me first. I carefully set down the food to scoop them into a group hug. "Did you bring us anything?" Jake asked, peering at the gift bag with undisguised curiosity. Jacob Thomas Jackson, Sarah scolded from the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Is that how we greet family?" I laughed, ruffling his hair. "It is fine, Sarah. At least the kid is honest." I handed each child a small wrapped package. "Nothing big, just some books I thought you might enjoy. We can read them after dinner if you want." Sarah hugged me tightly, smelling of cinnamon and dish soap. "Thanks for coming. Mom is already here fussing over the pies." The house interior was warm and chaotic, with the television broadcasting football in the living room and delicious aromas wafting from the kitchen. Thanksgiving decorations made by the children adorned the walls, paper turkeys and handprint art creating a homemade charm. Thomas stood at the dining room table, arranging place settings with surprising precision. "Look who finally made it," he said without looking up. "Guess your company can survive a few hours without you micromanaging everyone." "Good to see you too, Thomas," I replied evenly, refusing to take the bait. "The place looks great. Need any help?" Before he could answer, Mom emerged from the kitchen and wrapped me in a hug that smelled like pumpkin spice. At 68, she remained energetic and sharp, her silver hair cut in a stylish bob. "There is my boy. I was beginning to think you got caught up in work again." "Not today," I promised. "Everything is handled. I am all yours until tomorrow." The next hour passed pleasantly as we finished dinner preparations. I helped the twins set out name cards they had decorated at school, while Sarah and Mom put final touches on side dishes. Thomas remained in the backyard, monitoring his smoked turkey with obsessive attention. By 3 o'clock, we gathered around the table laden with traditional Thanksgiving fare. The turkey, impressively bronzed, sat at the center, surrounded by mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, stuffing rolls, and my cranberry salad. Thomas beamed with pride as Mom praised the perfectly cooked bird. "Before we eat," Mom said, "let us each share something we are thankful for." I will start. "I am thankful for having both my children here and these 3 wonderful grandchildren who keep me young." When my turn came, I said I am thankful for family that stays connected despite busy lives and for the privilege of watching these amazing kids grow up. Thomas went last, raising his glass in a toast. "I am thankful for community that understands family values." Speaking of which, "Bronson, did Sarah tell you about the town vote?" Sarah shot him a warning look, which he ignored. "The education funding bill passed," he continued, smirking. "Since you do not have kids in the school system, your property taxes just went up." Meanwhile, we qualified for the family credit. It is about time the system recognized who is actually contributing to society's future. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Mom looked down at her plate while Sarah cleared her throat nervously. "Thomas, not now," she murmured. "What it is, just facts," he said, cutting into his turkey. "We voted, and the community agreed. Those without kids should pay more to support those of us raising the next generation. It is fair. I do not mind supporting education," I replied, carefully mindful of the children listening. "Good schools benefit everyone in the community." "Easy to say when you have got money to burn," Thomas laughed, talking with his mouth full. "No college funds to save, for no braces to pay, for no mouths to feed except your own." Emma looked confused. "Does Uncle Bronson not like kids?" "Uncle Bronson likes kids just fine," Sarah answered quickly. "He just made different life choices." "Selfish choices," Thomas muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. Then he raised his voice again. "We voted last week, and since you do not have kids, you will pay for ours. Pretty good deal for us, right, guys?" He looked around the table for support but found only uncomfortable expressions. The twins, oblivious to the tension, continued eating while Emma watched the adults with perceptive eyes. "Thomas, that is enough," Mom said firmly. "We are here to celebrate family, not discuss politics." But Thomas, emboldened by his third glass of wine, continued. "Come on, it is not politics, it is economics. Bronson has that big empty apartment downtown, fancy car, expensive vacations. Meanwhile, we are stretching every dollar to give these kids opportunities. It is only right that he contributes more." Each word landed like a physical blow. I had silently supported their family for years, never mentioning the thousands of dollars I had given to ease their financial burdens. The casual cruelty of his comments, the assumption that my life held less value because I had not produced children, ignited something deep within me. Without speaking, I reached for my phone in my pocket. I felt everyone's eyes on me as I quietly stood from the table. "Excuse me for a moment," I said calmly, despite the storm brewing inside me. "I need to make a quick call." As I walked toward the front door, I heard Thomas laugh again. "See, even on Thanksgiving, he cannot disconnect from work. That is what happens when your job is your whole life." I closed the door behind me and stood on the porch, taking deep breaths of cold November air. My hand gripped my phone tightly as an idea began forming in my mind. A way to show Thomas exactly how much my contribution to his family actually mattered. The drive home from Thanksgiving dinner was a blur of streetlights and quiet rage. I left earlier than planned, claiming a work emergency. After that phone call I never actually made. Sarah texted twice apologizing for Thomas's behavior, but I responded with brief reassurances that everything was fine. Nothing was fine. Back in my apartment, I poured a glass of bourbon and stood by the window overlooking the river. Lights from the bridge reflected on the dark water, shimmering like the thoughts racing through my mind. Thomas's smug face kept appearing in my memory, his voice echoing. "Since you do not have kids, you will pay for ours." The irony was suffocating. For years I had been paying for his children in ways he never acknowledged or knew about. When Sarah called me crying 3 years ago because Thomas had lost his year-end bonus due to missing sales targets, I transferred $5,000 to her account. An early inheritance from Grandma's fund, I had told her, swearing Mom to secrecy about the true source. When Thomas crashed his car last winter and needed to rent a vehicle for work while insurance processed the claim, I arranged and paid for it through my company account as a business partnership with his furniture store. He never questioned why a digital marketing agency would partner with a local furniture retailer. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. He did not mean it the way it sounded. "Thomas is just stressed about Christmas expenses this year." This caught my attention. Christmas expenses. Thomas had been bragging about the bonus he expected next month. Setting my drink down, I opened my laptop and began digging. A quick search of public records showed Thomas and Sarah had refinanced their mortgage twice in the past 3 years, pulling out equity each time. Their property tax payments were flagged as delinquent for 2 quarters. This information was concerning enough, but I knew there had to be more to the story. I called Mom, who answered on the first ring. "Are you okay, honey? We missed you for dessert." "I am fine, Mom." "Quick question, has Thomas asked to borrow money recently?" Her hesitation told me everything before she even spoke. Just a small loan for Christmas shopping. He said his bonus is delayed until January. How much, Mom? $2,000, she admitted reluctantly. But he promised to pay it back. Did he also ask Sarah to withdraw from her teacher's retirement account? Another telling pause. How did you know about that? Sarah mentioned it a while back. I lied, not wanting to reveal I had overheard them arguing about it at the last family dinner. Mom, I need you to be honest with me. How bad are things for them financially? Mom sighed deeply. Worse than Sarah admits. Thomas lost his job 3 months ago. The furniture store closed its location here. He has been working reduced hours at their outlet store 40 miles away while looking for something closer. The twins need special tutoring that insurance will not cover, and their roof started leaking last month. This new information hit me like a truck. Thomas had been unemployed or underemployed for months, yet maintained the facade of financial stability. His resentment toward me suddenly made more sense, though it did not excuse his behavior. Why did not they tell me I could have helped? You know Thomas's pride, Mom said gently, and they know how much you already do for the kids. After hanging up, I spent the next several hours investigating further. Through business connections and some strategic calls I learned, Thomas had maxed out 3 credit cards. He had taken a payday loan to cover their second mortgage payment. Their minivan was 3 payments behind and at risk of repossession. Most alarmingly, he had listed their house for sale with a real estate agent in the next town over, presumably to hide this fact from family and neighbors. All this while presenting an image of stable prosperity and mocking my childless existence as selfish. The Christmas expenses Mom mentioned became clear as well. Thomas had promised the children extravagant gifts, a new gaming system for Jake, an expensive dollhouse for Emma, and a backyard play structure for all 3 that they could not remotely afford. Setting expectations he had no way to fulfill. By midnight, a plan had formed in my mind. I would not directly confront Thomas or expose his lies to Sarah. Instead, I would use my business connections and financial resources to create a controlled crisis that would force honesty while ultimately protecting the children from the worst consequences of their father's financial mismanagement. First, I contacted Marcus, my college roommate, who now worked at the regional bank holding Thomas's mortgage. While I could not access private account details, Marcus confirmed off the record that foreclosure proceedings were being discussed. The file shows multiple missed payments disguised by partial catch-ups, Marcus explained. They are running an algorithm next week to flag accounts for early intervention. His will definitely trigger. Next, I called Alicia, who managed my investment portfolio and had connections to several credit card companies. I need to know if certain accounts are vulnerable to immediate collection actions, I explained vaguely. Hypothetically speaking, she replied, understanding my meaning accounts with 90+ days of minimum-only payments are being reviewed for credit line reductions before the holiday shopping season, especially in certain zip codes with declining property values. Thomas and Sarah's neighborhood had seen 3 foreclosures in the past year, driving down home values significantly. By 3 in the morning, I had information on every financial weak point in Thomas's precarious house of cards. The auto loan company was already preparing repossession documents. The credit card companies were about to slash his available credit right before Christmas shopping season. The mortgage company was 2 weeks away from sending a formal foreclosure notice. I opened my contact list and began making calls and sending emails despite the late hour. To business associates who owed me favors, to financial institutions where I had leverage, to attorneys who had represented my company. Each conversation carefully worded, each request seemingly innocent but designed to accelerate the inevitable financial reckoning Thomas faced. By dawn, I had set in motion a series of events that would bring Thomas's financial house of cards tumbling down within days, not the weeks or months it might have taken otherwise. The mortgage review would happen Monday instead of next week. The auto loan repossession would be prioritized. Credit cards would be frozen immediately rather than gradually reduced. As sunlight spilled across my living room, I felt a moment of doubt. Was I going too far? Then I remembered Thomas's smug face as he declared I would pay for his children's benefits, while implying my life had less value than his. The doubt faded. I sent one final email before finally going to bed. This one to my accountant, instructing her to prepare documentation of every financial contribution I had made to Thomas and Sarah's family over the past 5 years. Every gift from Mom that actually came from me. Every bill I had quietly paid. Every college fund contribution. The total came to over $70,000. As I drifted to sleep, I wondered if this lesson in financial reality would finally teach Thomas the value of humility. And I wondered if Sarah would ever forgive me when she discovered what I had done. The following Monday, I immersed myself in work, deliberately avoiding family contact. Sarah sent a text around noon. Thomas wants to apologize for Thanksgiving. Dinner this weekend, I left it unanswered, watching the clock and waiting for the financial dominoes to begin falling. At 2:15 p.m., my phone rang. Thomas's number. I let it go to voicemail. His message sounded annoyed rather than concerned. "Hey, Sarah says you are not responding to her texts. Look, if you are still upset about Thanksgiving, get over it. It was just a joke. Call us back." By 4:30 p.m., the first actions I had set in motion took effect. Thomas called again, his voice noticeably different this time. "Bronson, I need to talk to you. Something weird is happening with our car loan. They are saying we are in default, but I just made a payment last week. Can you recommend someone who knows about this stuff?" I texted back, "In meetings all day. We'll call tomorrow." That evening, Sarah called 3 times. Her final voicemail broke my resolve slightly. "Bronson, I do not know what is going on. Thomas just got off the phone with the mortgage company. They are saying we missed multiple payments, but Thomas swears he has been paying. I am scared. Please call me back." I typed out a response. Deleted it. Then, finally sent. "Working late. We'll try to call tomorrow. Have Thomas check his payment confirmations." Tuesday morning brought the credit card freezes. By noon, all 3 of Thomas's cards had been locked with formal letters expedited to their home address, explaining the accounts were under review for irregular payment patterns. The timing could not have been worse for them. December 1st, with Christmas shopping season in full swing and the children's wish lists prominently displayed on their refrigerator. I received a text from Thomas at 1:20 p.m. "Did you say something to someone at Citizens Bank? They just froze our credit card out of nowhere. This is not funny, Bronson." I replied with deliberate vagueness. "Have not spoken to anyone at Citizens. Why would I?" By Wednesday morning, the situation had escalated beyond my expectations. Thomas called my office directly, bypassing my cell phone. My assistant put him through only because he claimed it was a family emergency. "What the hell is happening?" he demanded, his voice a harsh whisper suggesting he was hiding this call from Sarah. "Every financial account we have is suddenly flagged for review or frozen. The mortgage company scheduled an emergency meeting. The car loan people are threatening repossession. All 3 credit cards are locked. This cannot be a coincidence." "Sounds serious," I replied calmly. "Are you behind on payments?" "No." "Well, maybe a little on some things, but nothing that explains this coordinated attack. It is like someone is pulling strings behind the scenes." His voice shifted from angry to suspicious. "Is this you? Are you doing this because of what I said at Thanksgiving?" "Thomas, why would I have any influence over your mortgage company or credit cards? That is absurd." Technically true, as I had not directly contacted those companies, only people who worked there. "Then why is this happening right now?" he demanded. "Financial institutions often review accounts before the end of the year. Maybe your payment history triggered some algorithm." Also, technically true. He was quiet for a moment before his voice returned softer and more desperate. "Bronson, the kids' Christmas is going to be ruined. I promised them things that, well, I was counting on my bonus. The bonus from the job you lost 3 months ago," I asked, finally revealing one card from my hand. The sharp intake of breath told me he understood the conversation had changed. "How did you know about that?" "I know a lot of things, Thomas. Like the second mortgage you took out without telling Sarah, the payday loans, the credit card balance transfers, the foreclosure risk. You did do this," he whispered, realization and fear mixing in his voice. "I did not create your financial problems, Thomas. I just removed the cushions that were letting you hide them from your family while simultaneously mocking me for my financial stability. Why? Because I made one stupid joke about taxes. Number. Because you have been lying to my sister for years while treating me with contempt for making different life choices than you. You declared that I should pay for your children's benefits because my life is less valuable than yours. Well now, you get to see exactly how much I have been paying all along. The line went silent for so long I thought he had hung up. Finally his voice returned broken and desperate. Please stop this. Whatever you are doing, please stop. The mortgage company is threatening immediate action. The car loan people are sending someone tomorrow. We could lose everything right before Christmas. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I felt a twinge of regret. My intention had been to teach Thomas a lesson about respect and financial responsibility, not to destroy my nieces' and nephews' Christmas or put their housing at risk. I will call you back, I said, ending the call before he could respond. I spent the next hour making more calls, this time working to pause rather than accelerate the financial reckoning I had set in motion. Asking contacts to hold off on the most severe actions until after the holidays, explaining that I wanted accountability but not catastrophe for the children involved. Most agreed to moderate their approach but made clear that Thomas would need to address the underlying issues immediately. The mortgage company would require a substantial good faith payment. The auto loan could be restructured but would need consistent payments moving forward. The credit cards would remain restricted until payment plans were established. As I finished the last call, my office phone rang again. This time it was Sarah, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and anger. What did you say to Thomas? He is packing a bag and saying he needs to go explain things to you in person. He will not tell me what is happening, but I know it is bad. Please, Bronson. Whatever is going on, do not make it worse. Sarah, there are things about your financial situation you do not know. Things Thomas has been hiding from you. I think it is better if he explains them to you himself. What are you talking about? We have some bills, everyone does, but ask him about the foreclosure warning, I interrupted gently. Ask him about the second mortgage. Ask him where your retirement savings really went. Her sharp intake of breath was followed by a long silence. He is on his way to your office. Please do not do anything rash, both of you. The kids and I need you both. As I hung up, my assistant buzzed to let me know Thomas had arrived and was demanding to see me immediately. I took a deep breath, straightened my tie, and prepared for the confrontation that would either tear our family apart or finally force the honesty needed to heal it. Thomas burst into my office like a thunderstorm, face flushed and hands shaking. My assistant hovered anxiously in the doorway until I nodded reassurance that everything was under control. Close the door on your way out, Linda, I said calmly, maintaining eye contact with Thomas. Once we were alone, I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Have a seat. I am not here for a business meeting, he spat, remaining standing. I am here because you are systematically destroying my family right before Christmas. I leaned back in my chair, studying him. The polished facade he usually maintained had crumbled completely. His dress shirt was wrinkled, his hair uncombed, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. This was a man at his breaking point. Your financial decisions over the past 3 years have been destroying your family. I replied evenly. I simply accelerated the timeline so Sarah would know the truth before you dug the hole deeper. He paced the length of my office, running his hands through his hair. You have no right to interfere in my marriage or how I handle our finances. Normally I would agree. But when you decided to mock me at Thanksgiving for not contributing enough while hiding the fact that my contributions have been keeping your family afloat for years, you involved me directly. This stopped his pacing. What are you talking about? I opened my desk drawer and removed the folder my accountant had prepared. The furnace replacement last winter. That was me, not your insurance company, finding an exception. The twins' braces, half paid by me. The car rental after your accident, me. The inheritance advance Sarah received when you lost your bonus. That came from my account, not Mom's. His face drained of color as I continued listing the financial support I had provided over the years. When I reached the college funds I had established for the children, he sank into the chair I had offered earlier. Why would you do all that and never say anything? he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Because they are my family too. And because I wanted to help Sarah and the kids without undermining your role or embarrassing you, I closed the folder. But that courtesy expired when you decided to publicly shame me for not having children while benefiting from my childless financial flexibility. Thomas stared at the floor, shoulders slumped. So this financial nightmare is what revenge? No, it is reality. Every action being taken by those financial institutions was already in progress. Your mortgage really is in pre-foreclosure status. Your car loan really is delinquent. Your credit cards really are maxed out with minimum-only payments for months. I just removed the barriers that were slowing down the inevitable consequences. He looked up sharply. You said you would call me back. Have you stopped it? I have asked them to moderate their approach until after the holidays, yes. But the underlying issues remain. End of lay. Mant. I have asked them to moderate their approach. You need to come clean with Sarah about everything. Create realistic payment plans and start rebuilding your financial foundation honestly. I cannot tell Sarah, he whispered, real fear in his eyes. She will leave me. You underestimate her, I replied. Sarah is stronger than you think. What she cannot forgive is being lied to, especially when those lies put her children's security at risk. Our conversation was interrupted by my office door flying open. Sarah stood there, eyes red from crying, my mother right behind her, looking equally distressed. Your receptionist let us in, Mom explained unnecessarily. Sarah marched toward Thomas, holding out her phone. I called the mortgage company myself. They said we are 3 months behind, and they have been sending notices for weeks. Where have those notices been going, Thomas? And why is there a second mortgage I never signed for? Thomas seemed to shrink further into the chair. I had them sent to a P.O. box. I was going to fix everything before you ever needed to know. My bonus. You do not have a bonus coming, because you do not have the job you claim to have. Sarah's voice rose with each word. The furniture store manager just told me you were let go in September. September, Thomas. Where have you been going every day when you claim to be at work? The room fell silent as we all processed the depth of Thomas's deception. Even I had not realized he was pretending to go to work each day. The outlet store in Bedford, he finally admitted. Part-time commission only. I spend the rest of the time looking for jobs or at the library using their computers to search for solutions. Mom stepped forward, placing a hand on Sarah's trembling shoulder. Why not tell us the truth? We are family. We would have helped. Thomas looked at me with something like hatred. Ask Bronson how much he has been helping behind my back, making me look like I cannot provide for my own family. Do not you dare turn this around, Sarah snapped. Bronson has been supporting us because you put us in this position with your lies and pride. The kids' Christmas presents are not going to magically appear, are they? The promises you made them. Thomas covered his face with his hands. I thought I would have a new job by now, something better than before. The market is just so tight, and everyone wants younger candidates with technical skills I do not have. And the gambling receipts I found in your glove compartment, Sarah asked quietly. Is that also because of the job market? This was new information even to me. Thomas's head snapped up, panic evident in his expression. It was just a few times. To try to catch up on bills. I almost won enough last month to cover the mortgage. Mom gasped softly. Sarah turned away, staring out the window at the city skyline, her body rigid with anger or grief, or both. The children keep asking about Christmas, she said after a long silence. Emma saw the dollhouse she wanted in a store window yesterday and talked about it all evening. Jake has been extra helpful around the house because he thinks it will ensure Santa brings that gaming system. What am I supposed to tell them now? The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of childhood disappointment. Thomas had no answer, his eyes fixed on the floor in shame. I cleared my throat. The children will have Christmas. Not the extravagant one Thomas promised, but a meaningful one. The bigger issue is your housing stability and financial future. Sarah turned back to us, wiping tears from her cheeks. How bad is it really, Bronson? The complete truth. I outlined everything I had discovered: the mortgage situation, the car loan default, the credit card debt, the payday loans. With each detail, Thomas seemed to physically diminish in his chair, while Sarah's expression hardened. "Can it be fixed?" she finally asked. "Yes," I assured her. "It will take time, sacrifice, and complete transparency going forward, but yes." "And what is your role in all this?" she asked, gesturing to the folder on my desk. "Thomas said you accelerated some kind of financial crisis to teach him a lesson." I met her gaze directly. "After Thanksgiving, I made some calls that expedited reviews of accounts that were already problematic. I also revealed some financial support I have provided over the years that Thomas may have attributed to other sources." Mom stepped in. "The inheritance advance was from Bronson, not me." "There is no inheritance coming, Sarah. I was trying to help protect Thomas's pride." Sarah closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she looked at each of us in turn, ending with Thomas. "So, everyone has been lying to me." "Wonderful." "I was trying to protect you," Thomas whispered. "By gambling away our mortgage payment," Sarah's voice was razor sharp. "By putting our home at risk. By lying about your job for months. That is not protection, Thomas. That is betrayal." The office fell silent again, the weight of broken trust and uncertain future palpable in the air. Outside my window, holiday decorations adorned the office buildings across the street, a stark contrast to the family crisis unfolding in my office. Finally, I stood up. "Here's what happens next. We work together to stabilize your immediate financial situation. We create a plan for moving forward honestly, and we make sure the children have a Christmas that focuses on family rather than expensive gifts they will forget by February." Thomas looked up, hope and suspicion battling in his expression. "Why would you help us? After what I said, after how I have treated you?" "Because they are my family too," I said simply. "And because everyone deserves a second chance if they are willing to earn it." Sarah moved to stand beside my desk, her eyes still red but her voice steady. "What do we need to do first?" As we began outlining immediate steps to address their financial crisis, I realized this confrontation, painful as it was, might be the foundation for something stronger than the facade of family harmony we had maintained for years. Real healing would require truth, accountability, and time, but for the first time I believed it might be possible. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of financial triage. I cleared my work schedule and transformed my conference room into Command Central for what I started calling Operation Family Stability. Sarah took emergency personal days from her teaching assistant position while Thomas faced the humbling task of cataloging every debt, every lie, and every financial misstep of the past 3 years. "Total outstanding debt is $87,000, I announced after our initial assessment, not counting the primary mortgage. Thomas winced at the number while Sarah stared at the spreadsheet in disbelief. "How did we get here?" she whispered. "Gradually, then suddenly," I replied, quoting Hemingway. "But the important thing is where we go from here." Our first priority was preventing foreclosure. I contacted Marcus at the regional bank, negotiating a repayment plan that would bring the mortgage current by February. I contributed the initial good faith payment of $4,000, but with clear terms this was a loan to be repaid, not a gift to enable further financial avoidance. "You will repay me $50 weekly," I explained to Thomas. "Automatically deducted from your new checking account that Sarah will help manage. This is not about controlling you. It is about creating accountability and transparency." Thomas nodded, the fight and defiance gone from his demeanor. "What about the car loan?" "They are scheduled to repossess next week." "I spoke with their recovery department," I explained. "They have agreed to a restructured loan with slightly higher interest but lower monthly payments for the next 6 months. After that, it reverts to normal terms, assuming all payments are made on time." Sarah organized all their statements, bills, and financial documents chronologically, creating a clear picture of how things had spiraled. Each new discovery brought fresh paying membership to an online gambling site, hidden credit cards, payday loans with criminal interest rates. "I never meant for it to get this bad," Thomas said on the second afternoon, staring at the mountain of paperwork. Each step seemed small. A little borrowing from one account to cover another. a small bet that might solve everything if it paid off. Then suddenly I was juggling dozens of balls and could not admit I was drowning. "Why not come to me?" Sarah asked, the hurt still fresh in her voice. "We could have faced it together." "I was ashamed," he admitted, "and afraid you would think less of me. Your brother is so successful, so put together. I was supposed to be the provider, the protector." "That outdated thinking nearly cost us our home," Sarah pointed out. "We are partners, or at least we should be." Mom joined us each day primarily to provide emotional support, but also to help create a realistic household budget moving forward. Her experience raising 2 children on a teacher's salary proved invaluable in identifying unnecessary expenses and establishing priorities. "Cable television can go," she declared, reviewing their monthly bills. "Library cards are free, and most shows are available through cheaper streaming services. The country club membership definitely goes," I added, still shocked they had maintained this expense while defaulting on their mortgage. "That is $400 monthly. That can go directly to debt reduction." Thomas looked pained but nodded agreement. "The kids love the pool in summer." "Public pools exist," Sarah reminded him firmly, "and they cost a fraction of the club membership." By Thursday evening, we had established a comprehensive plan. Thomas would take a full-time position at a local hardware store while continuing his part-time sales role at the furniture outlet. The combined income would be modest, but stable. Sarah would increase her teaching assistant hours when the new semester started in January. They would sell their second car, refinance their primary mortgage once their payment history improved, and commit to complete financial transparency moving forward. The most difficult conversation centered around Christmas. Thomas had promised the children gifts totaling nearly $3,000, creating expectations that could not possibly be fulfilled given their circumstances. "We need to reset their expectations without crushing their spirits," Sarah said, looking exhausted. "They are too young to understand financial hardship, but old enough to feel disappointment." I had been considering this problem and had a proposal ready. "What if we shift the focus from expensive gifts to experiences and family traditions? Create a Christmas focused on togetherness rather than material things." "They are children," Bronson Thomas objected. "They want toys and games, not philosophical life lessons." "They can have both," I countered. "I am not suggesting no gifts, just more meaningful ones within a reasonable budget. Plus some family activities that become new traditions." We ultimately agreed on a compromise. Each child would receive one special gift from their wish list, but at a more moderate price point than originally promised. The rest of Christmas would focus on family activities, homemade gifts, and establishing traditions that did not center on consumption. "I will handle the special gifts," I offered. "You both focus on stabilizing your household and planning the family activities." "More charity from Uncle Bronson Thomas," muttered, a flash of his old resentment surfacing briefly. Sarah shot him a warning look. "This is not charity. This is family supporting each other through crisis. A crisis you created, may I remind you." "Actually," I interjected, "I was thinking the gifts could be from both of us, Thomas. I have connections to get discounts on the items, and you have the knowledge of exactly what the kids want. We could shop together." The suggestion clearly surprised him. "You want to go shopping with me? After everything?" "Consider it the first step in rebuilding trust," I said. "Both between you and me, and between you and your family." Thomas extended his hand across the table. "I do not deserve this second chance, but I am grateful for it. And I am sorry, Bronson. For the things I said, for the resentment I carried. You were never the problem. My own insecurities were." As we shook hands, I felt a weight lifting. The anger that had fueled my initial reaction was fading, replaced by cautious hope for healing. Sarah watched this exchange with tears in her eyes. "So, what do we tell the children about Christmas changing?" "The truth," Mom suggested. "Adjusted for their ages, of course. That Christmas this year will be different, but special in new ways. Focus on what they are gaining, not what they are losing." As we finalized our plans for both financial recovery and a reimagined holiday season, I realized something important had shifted in our family dynamic. For years we had maintained a surface-level harmony built on secrets, resentments, and unspoken truths. Now, painful as the process had been, we were establishing a foundation of honesty that might ultimately create something stronger and more authentic than what came before. One more thing I said as we prepared to leave for the evening. I think we should all agree that my financial support moving forward will be open and acknowledged. No more secret bailouts or hidden assistance. It undermines Thomas's position in the family and creates unhealthy dynamics for everyone. Sarah nodded immediately. Agreed. Total transparency from everyone. Thomas hesitated before adding his agreement. It will be hard on my pride, but my pride is what got us into this mess. Transparency from now on. As they gathered their papers and prepared to head home, Sarah hugged me tightly. Thank you for not giving up on us, she whispered. Even when you had every reason to walk away. Family does not give up on family, I replied simply. Even when they make really stupid jokes at Thanksgiving dinner. For the first time in days, we all shared a genuine laugh, a small moment of lightness in what had been the darkest week of our collective family history. Christmas morning dawned clear and cold, with fresh snow blanketing the neighborhood in pristine white. I arrived at Sarah and Thomas's house just after 9. My car trunk filled with carefully wrapped packages and food for our holiday meal. The past 3 weeks had been challenging but transformative for our family. Thomas met me at the door looking more rested and centered than I had seen him in years. The constant anxiety that had shadowed his features had diminished, replaced by the clear-eyed gaze of someone no longer running from truth. Merry Christmas, he said, helping me carry packages inside. The kids are bouncing off the walls waiting for you to arrive so we can open gifts. Inside the house looked different. Gone were the expensive decorations and overflowing piles of presents that had characterized previous Christmases. Instead, handmade paper chains draped the modestly sized tree alongside ornaments the children had crafted during family nights. The extravagance had been replaced by authenticity, and the space felt warmer for it. Emma spotted me first, racing across the living room in flannel pajamas. Uncle Bronson, now we can start Christmas. The twins followed close behind, their excitement palpable as they eyed the packages I carried. Sarah emerged from the kitchen wearing an apron dusted with flour, her smile genuine, if still carrying hints of the strain from recent weeks. Perfect timing, she said, hugging me with one arm. The cinnamon rolls just came out of the oven. Mom sat in the armchair by the fire, watching the scene with contented eyes. At her suggestion, we had established a new Christmas morning ritual breakfast, first followed by each person sharing one thing they were grateful for before any gifts were opened. Over warm cinnamon rolls and coffee, we formed our first circle of gratitude. When Thomas's turn came, he cleared his throat, emotion making his voice rough. I am grateful for second chances, he said, simply looking around at each of us. And for family that tells hard truths, even when they hurt. Sarah squeezed his hand before offering her own gratitude. I am thankful for new beginnings and the freedom that comes with facing reality. The gift opening that followed was modest by previous standards, but filled with genuine joy. Each child received one special present they had wished for, along with practical items and homemade gifts we had created together during family nights leading up to Christmas. Jake unwrapped a gaming system, not the latest model he had originally wanted, but one that came with family games we could all play together. His face lit up with surprise. I thought Santa could not bring this. Dad said it might be too expensive this year. Santa had some help from Uncle Bronson, Thomas explained, looking at me with gratitude rather than resentment, and from Dad working extra shifts at the hardware store. Emma received a dollhouse smaller than the elaborate Victorian mansion she had coveted in the store window, but handcrafted by Thomas and me during late-night sessions in my apartment workshop. Her joy at discovering that her father and uncle had made it together brought tears to Sarah's eyes. The twins discovered their backyard would have a play structure after all, though we would build it together as a family project in the spring rather than hiring professionals to install an elaborate pre-made system. This way it will be special because we all helped create it, I explained as they examined the architectural drawings I had prepared. After gifts, we bundled up for a family walk through the snow-covered neighborhood, something we had never done together on previous Christmases when everyone was too busy with their new possessions to venture outdoors. The children threw snowballs and made snow angels, while the adults talked quietly about plans for the coming year. The financial counselor thinks we can be debt-free in 3 years if we stick to the plan, Thomas told me as we watched the children play. It will be tight, but doable. And how are you doing with the transparency commitment? I asked. Better than I expected, he admitted. There is relief in not carrying secrets anymore. Sarah and I talk about money weekly now, instead of fighting about it monthly. When we returned home, red-cheeked and hungry, we prepared Christmas dinner together. No catered dishes or expensive shortcuts this year. Instead, we cooked from scratch, each person responsible for one dish. Even the children participated, Jake mashing potatoes, while Emma and the twins set the table with handmade place cards. As we gathered around the table, I noticed something profound had shifted in our family dynamic. The artificial hierarchy that had placed Thomas's traditional family structure above my single status had dissolved. In its place was something more authentic, mutual respect for our different life paths and recognition that family bonds transcend conventional definitions. Before eating, Thomas stood and asked for everyone's attention. I have something to say, he began, uncharacteristically solemn. Last month at Thanksgiving, I said things that were cruel and unfair to Bronson. I implied that his life was worth less than mine, because he does not have children. I was wrong, and I am deeply sorry. The table fell silent as he continued. I now understand that family is not defined by who lives in your house or whose DNA you share. It is defined by who shows up when you need them most, who tells you hard truths when you need to hear them, and who stands by you, even when you do not deserve it. He raised his glass in my direction. Bronson has been more of a father to my children than I was being. While I was hiding bills and making promises I could not keep, he was securing their future with college funds and providing stability I was too proud to ask for. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes as Thomas concluded. I promise to be the father and husband my family deserves moving forward. And Bronson, I promise to be the brother you deserve as well. The meal that followed was the most genuine family gathering I could remember. We talked about real things, hopes, fears, plans for the future. The children shared school stories I had never heard before, and for the first time I felt fully present in their lives rather than a peripheral figure who brought gifts and left early. After dinner, as the children played with their new games and the adults sipped hot chocolate by the fire, Mom pulled me aside. You know what I see today that I have never seen before, she asked, her eyes crinkling with emotion. What is that? A whole family, she said simply. Not Thomas's family that you visit. Not separate lives that intersect occasionally. A whole complete family, where everyone belongs exactly as they are. Her observation crystallized what I had been feeling all day. For years I had been the outsider, the uncle who visited but never quite belonged in the family narrative. Thomas's cruel joke at Thanksgiving had merely verbalized the underlying message I had felt for years, that my life choices made me somehow less valuable, less central to the family story. The financial crisis I helped precipitate had been painful for everyone, but it had broken down the artificial barriers between us. In confronting real struggle together, we had forged connections stronger than the superficial harmony of previous gatherings. As evening fell and the children grew sleepy, I helped Thomas carry them to bed. Emma asked me to read her new book, while the twins wanted both their father and uncle to tuck them in. These simple moments, I realized, were the true gifts of the season. Later, after Mom had gone to bed in the guest room, and Sarah was finishing kitchen cleanup, Thomas and I stood on the back porch looking at stars emerging in the clear winter sky. I almost lost everything he said quietly. My family, my home, my self-respect. But you did not, I reminded him, because you cared enough to force me to face the truth. He turned to look at me directly. I resented your success, your freedom. I told myself my life had more meaning because I had children, because I followed the traditional path. But meaning is not found in following prescriptions or conforming to expectations. No, I agreed. It is found in living authentically and loving genuinely, however, that looks in each life. I am learning that, he nodded. Slowly, imperfectly, but learning. As I drove home that night to my downtown apartment with its river view and clean modern furnishings, I felt a new sense of peace. For years I had quietly questioned my choice to remain single and childless, wondering if I was missing life's greatest joys. Now I understood that there are many paths to a meaningful life, many ways to be family. Thomas's tax joke had triggered a crisis, but that crisis had ultimately revealed a deeper truth, that real family transcends traditional definitions and financial transactions. That giving from obligation breeds resentment, while giving from authentic connection creates bonds that cannot be broken by circumstance. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. The kids are already asking when Uncle Bronson is coming back. You have 3 new best friends for life. I smiled, typing back. Tell them Uncle Bronson is already planning our next adventure. Sleep well, sis. The river reflected city lights as I poured a small glass of bourbon and considered all that had happened since Thanksgiving. The anger that had fueled my initial reaction had transformed into something more valuable, authentic connection based on truth rather than performance. Sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in painful packages. Sometimes we must lose what we thought we wanted to discover what we truly need. And sometimes a thoughtless joke at a holiday dinner can begin a journey toward the family we were always meant to be. If this story resonated with you, I would love to hear about a time when difficulty led to unexpected growth in your own family. Please share in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe if you want to hear more real-life stories about family forgiveness and finding your authentic path. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes our greatest challenges become our most meaningful turning points. Like, subscribe, and share if you found value in this journey we shared together.